So, welcome to Detective Diaries. Your host, Greg Lawson. Tonight, we're going to be talking about a whole bunch of different stuff. We're going to be talking about funny stuff. We're going to be talking about scary stuff and paranormal stuff. And our guest tonight is going to be Marcus Hardy. And I'd like to welcome him to the show.
Hey, hello. I can hear you.
You can hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
Awesome. How's it going, man?
Good. How are you? How's you
I'm
been?
good. So I'm sure people are trying to figure out what the deal is. You and I met 2 years ago in Salt Lake?
Ish. 2 years ish.
Yeah.
You were doing a paranormal convention here. You were
right.
a special guest.
And you were or are a host of Area 52 podcast.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes,
along with my wife and another comedian, Melissa, who was got in touch with you and was able to get you on our podcast.
Right. And anyway, it was a real joy meeting you guys, and I have a cool shirt on.
Yeah, I noticed that. That's awesome. I've got my own shirt on.
As it should be.
Yeah.
Right. So anyway, I had no idea. You know, I've been to Salt Lake, or I've been through Salt Lake several times, and I hadn't really stopped. I hadn't really done anything, and I was absolutely amazed at how much fun we had. You took really good care of us when we went up there.
That was a good time. It was awesome to see you guys. We went up and went up to Park City. Yeah, it was cool. Saw a bunch of sights. It was neat.
Right. That's what I was trying to think of. Park City. I couldn't remember. That's pretty easy to remember, but I couldn't.
Well, I mean, it's two words. It's like 3 syllables. It's not that big of a deal.
It's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful up there.
Yeah, it's nice.
But So we had a really good time, and I'm gonna throw your crew up, a picture of your crew, and kind of introduce them. And
well, that's us on the far left. That's my wife, Danny. You also hear referred to as Marty, based on your shirt, because Marty is her wrestling name. She is and has been a professional wrestler for 7-8 years now. She's done a lot of independent work, done stuff with WWE and recently AEW. So she's awesome. In the middle, that's Melissa. Melissa Merlot is our friend, fellow comedian, very funny and very knowledgeable when it comes to this kind of stuff. Has just like Danny has also had experiences, with ghosts and paralysis and glimmer men, and it's fascinating. And then on the end, that idiot's me. So yeah, no explanation needed.
Well, I got plenty of. Well, you can't see that up there, but I have plenty of photos of you that I decided I would go ahead and download on.
I'm excited.
So, tell me about Last Comic Standing.
Oh, okay.
You were on, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was on. In fact, I was really lucky because I was on one of the last season that kind of had the format of the full reality show, where you went on and you lived in the house and you had challenges. I know that the other ones had different kinds of settings, where it was a lot more about the stand-up. And as much as I enjoyed doing my stand-up on TV, I really enjoyed the challenges. We got to do some fun stuff at some fun places in front of some fun people, and live in the house. And a lot of the stuff that people didn't see on TV was what I think was the best part of that experience. When you look back, is connecting and kind of having a bunch of young comics who are really hungry, living with veteran comics who are unbelievably talented, and then just being able to learn from them and hoping that what you're doing is translating through a screen, because you know that the audience is there and they're really excited and pumped up and they got the best audience ever, but you're hoping that the people at home are having that same experience. And so it was a really good experience and a really good opportunity to learn how what you could do behind a camera which was interesting because when I did this, this was in 2008. I mean, I was on season 6. This was 12 years ago, and I had MySpace. You know, we didn't have Facebook, and I didn't have a Facebook back then. It wasn't Instagram. It wasn't live streaming and all this. It would have been a much different experience had it been that. So what we were able to do is do this show and then go out on the road on like this 6-month amazing tour that NBC lined up in like 70, 80 cities. And really just see the people who watched the show and see how they saw it and watch how they saw how it played out. And then it was fun to kind of also watch it and see what moments they picked, and they picked that thing, and they made that joke look good, and okay, I see. So it was a real fun learning experience, and it gave me a nice boost. It let me kind of keep doing comedy and keep trying new things, and so I'm really grateful that came along. That's one of my favorite things that I got to do.
Right. And you were kind of solo for a long time, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, well, I started off as a solo comic, I think, as most comics do, right? I started, how it worked is I've always done voices and impressions, right? So I did them forever. I used to do them for friends. I would do them at work and things like that. I was a computer salesman, and they'd go try to sell this guy a laptop as Christopher Walken. And I'd go, okay, hey, sir, how are you? You need a laptop, right? They'd laugh or whatever. And what's funny is, over time, I just kind of gravitated more to performance. I joined a band, and then like when I was in my band, I would get up on stage and just kind of do little jokes in between, like every rock star thinks they're funny. And over time, I got into radio, and that led me to doing voice bits on the radio. I would call in, and I would be like Matthew McConaughey or George Bush, because this was back, 2004 and 5 when he was in the White House. So I'd do a lot of that, How are you guys doing? It's good talking to you guys from the White House. He was a good impression president. And, I'd do that and all these different characters. Matthew McConaughey is a good one from out there in Texas, where you're from, college football. I miss that right now. I miss it very much. I miss it going out there seeing those young men just work their hearts out, man. That's what it means, Texas football. Put those horns up. So I would do these different call-ins and things. And eventually that led to me meeting comedians on the radio. And one talked me into going to the comedy club. And I went down to our local comedy club, and I went in and met the owner, and he gave me a couple minutes the next night, and I came in and was hooked, and I just never left the comedy club. And for years, that's what I was. It was just a stand-up comic. And so I did comedy for a long time. And even like during Last Comic, my comedy partner, Guy, it's funny how this worked, is I came back, we were on break, we had filmed everything, and then the show was going to air, and we were going to come back for the live finale, right? So I was just kind of on this break, and I couldn't really talk about what had happened. And I went, hey, Kat, and I went to the comedy club, the local comedy club here, and hosted an open mic. And Guy, my comedy partner, got up on stage for the very first time. That was his very first open mic, and I hosted, and he killed. And I was like, how come I don't know you? You're funny. And we became instant friends because we had so much in common. We both loved music, and we both were similar aged and just really connected. And so he started going on the road with me, because at the time I was doing a lot of gigs. The Last Comic train was kind of building. And so he went on the road with me, even went to a couple of those gigs with me when the tour happened. And he opened for me for a long time, and then he became a comic, and then he started headlining, but we'd still go on the road together, and we would end up being in the car for hours and just, making fun of songs that we would listen to and just doing little jokes in the car. And we thought we should do this because he plays guitar and I can sing and do voices. And we thought, let's do this, because I hadn't really done impressions for a long time. When I was on the show, it's funny, I talked about this the other day on a stream that I did, but when I was on the show, I got real beat up online from like websites, comedy websites and message boards that were like, impressionists aren't real comedians. They don't really, they're just ventriloquists. And they just take lines from movies and do it and go, that's a joke. And so I was young. I mean, I was in my late 20s when this was going on. So I was still early in my career too. And I thought, well, I don't want to be seen as just a hack. So I actually didn't do voices in my act for like 3 or 4 years. I just stopped doing impressions, and I said, I'm going to do comedy then. You watch. I'll do as much comedy as anybody. I'm the comediest comedy of all comedies. And by the time we came back around to it, I'd had a bunch of great comics that had just kind of gotten my face and gone, dude, stop it. Just, you're good at something, go do it. Just be funny. Find, you know. So I found a way to do it. And with Guy, we wrote kind of a musical show. And then for the last, I don't know, 5, 6, 7, 8 years. Gosh, time flies. 7 years, maybe. We've been a duo, a musical comedy duo that really doesn't do independent shows anymore, and we tour as Marcus and Guy. So yeah, it's been kind of a half and half career, which is really, really fun.
Yeah, yeah, man. So for what it's worth, I have set multiple times when I didn't have anything to do and watched your Batman versus everybody. And I've watched that over and over again. And yeah,
cool.
That's how did you do it? Was that just like a virtual with you and then the computer generating that, or what?
So I've always been, I think one of the my hurdles, I guess, right, is a lot of people can get online and do videos and you know, we can do voices, but the manipulation of our faces has now started to be getting better with like face swap apps and things like that. So that was really the first time where I was like, look, the app, I think it was what app is that called? Masquerade or something like that. It had a Batman one for the Batman versus Superman movie that was out. Right. Like, this is neat. It covers my face, so I could be anybody under there. And that started making me think, well, let's make it be anybody under there. And then it gives you kind of the same background. So it was like this idea of being able to go, I could do 50 videos. I could be anywhere. And the background isn't going to change. It's not going to be jarring. And so it was just kind of me sitting in my car, my house. And every time I got an idea, I would do one. And then I dropped them randomly into and just started editing one day. And so it was really like one of those things where just kind of the app came out with a good filter, and it just really worked for that video, because imagining that anybody could be Batman is a funny thing on stage, but then being able to see, you know, do a little bit of the face behind the mask, do a little bit of the movement in the mask, the eyes, you know, those things are a lot of fun to imagine. So it was just kind of a nice little circumstance. And it was weird. I had that video online and it had like 50,000 views on Facebook, and one day it just disappeared. Like it was just gone, and I had to re-upload it. And
I was looking for it.
It just gone.
Yeah, I noticed. I was like, "Whoa, did he take it down? What's going on?"
No, and then so I had to put it back up. But it was, it's a fun little video, and I like doing that. In fact, I've got some ideas I've been working on. I've been trying to. I think a lot of comics and artists, right? The minute this went down, they all started putting stuff out. And everybody was doing, so I want to let kind of the white noise die down, but I've got some videos that I'm going to be doing some impression stuff, and I'm excited. Yeah.
So Joy is not only my proofreader and editor for some of my books, she's also my cousin, and she is awesome. Thanks for tuning in, Joy.
Hi, Joy.
Also, Colin Robertson, him and I were in the Navy together.
In the Navy.
20-something years ago. Yeah. We've showered together. Oh yeah.
As have we, which is weird because we weren't in the Navy. I don't know. I thought this was, you told me about him and I was like, is this just something you do with everybody, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, you just got to get it out of the way.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I was told.
Well, it lessens the stress.
Oh, I think so.
Once you get it done, it just lessens the stress. But yeah, so we have 2 people following us. It's great. This is
great.
Exactly the crowd I was expecting.
Tell 2 more.
That's right. So anyway, you hosted some awards, right? Up at when was that?
I've done a few of those. In fact, what's interesting is that the show that Guy and I wrote, it just changed everything about our career trajectory, because we had both been club comics, right? We would get in there and do stand-up, and neither one of us were like super dirty comics, but we also weren't. I realized when you go into widescreen, you can see my wife's wrestling standee over here.
It's awesome.
You're
going to have to bring that closer over here in a little bit.
This is Danny's Randy Orton standee. And I was trying to frame him out. I didn't realize this was so widescreen, but there he is. There he is. She's
sure.
Most of this room is mine, as you can see from the toys and the movies and the Funkos and the action figures. And I've got Star Wars like all my original Star Wars toys over here, and like stuff from the 80s, and then more stuff over here. And then him, and then him, then this. Where is he? How do I point to it?
Yeah, there you go.
That right there. There he is. That's where he is.
Yeah, quit
that's
touching
in
that.
here. Right. So
hi, Amanda.
Hi, Amanda. But yeah, it's what's interesting is, Guy and I, we realized that by writing this musical show, even by accident, this show, we could do it clean. And we didn't intend to. We weren't ever like trying to we weren't ever trying to write a clean comedy show, but we found out we could. And so that kind of opened us up to the world of doing corporate work and shows for companies and private events and people who had HR departments. And it wasn't all about just whatever we wanted to do. It was about trying to do something within a little bit of rules, right? Give ourselves a little bit of I don't know, kind of a guidelines that to work within. And we love that, because in the comedy world, there's 1,000 comics all fighting for the same 52 weekends at every club, right? So in the corporate world, that's not the case. We're not fighting 500 other comics, because there's not 500 other comics that can go clean like we can. And because we can do that, we get hired not only to do events like that, but to host events. We've hosted and co-hosted the Utah Film Awards. We've co-hosted beauty pageants. We did a beauty pageant here locally for a couple years in a row, and just had so much fun with it. We've hosted the Salt Awards, which were done by the Salt Lake Tribune here, which were awards that were given out to businesses and members of our community. And that was really neat to do. I made a bunch of videos with that and got to do a bunch of fun stuff with the Tribune. Guy and I, countless times, will go and do events, and people will have us host their raffles and their giveaways, and we'll like roast people as they win. And it's just so much fun to be able to kind of have a show and then just fly by the seat of your pants and trust that you're confident enough in your skills that you can go out there and not really have a net and perform and entertain without offending. It's fun. It's a really cool world to kind of aim for.
Right. Now, you came down to Austin. When was that? 8 months ago?
I was going to say it was October of 18.
Oh, was it that long ago?
Because I don't think it was 9. Yeah, it must have been, because it wasn't. Or it was early 2019.
Yeah, I think so.
Maybe April or March. I have pictures. I have pictures of us from there. I could tell you exactly when it was.
I picked you up and we went and ate barbecue, and then watched somebody drive their truck into a convenience store.
I still tell that story, because that was it was one thing after another. We went with you and saw that. And then the next day we took a bunch of those scooters around Austin,
right,
and watched a woman go right over the front of her scooter onto the pavement, knock herself out, and then tell us not to call the police, the ambulance. She was fine. And I was like, I don't know what to do here. And then, it was eventful. It was eventful. But yeah, that dude driving into that convenience store was crazy. You went, it was weird because we were on lunch mode, and then we came around the corner, and this guy, honestly, his car is into the convenience store, just going, tires spinning, and you pull over, and cop mode Greg just went, guys. And you came and you bashed that window out, and I was like, half of me was like, get it, yay! Like it was so manly. It was just, it was amazing. And then I don't know. I hope that guy was okay. I didn't remember if it seemed like he had a medical issue, or I don't know. Okay, I don't know what.
Yeah, he was having a stroke or something. Like,
yeah,
but he had his foot on that accelerator, and the thing was just peeling out, right?
And those tires were smoking. You could smell it. You could see when he was done, there was like liquid, just rubber that had just been spit off those tires. It was crazy.
Yeah,
it was crazy. And then, I'm with you, Amanda. It's cop mode Greg. He went into it. He was like, because this is Greg, right? We were having lunch and we're talking. He's showing us his great city, and here's the thing over here, and we're gonna go up to this guitar store. You guys want to go see this fun? Hold on, guys. Greg will come to, and he just, oh man, it was amazing. Oh, it was so manly.
It was actually into a little mom and pop's pizza joint, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
and he was sitting right by that wall when he came through.
Pushed in by the pinball machine. It was crazy, so crazy.
Man. They were really, really lucky. Really.
Oh, yeah. Lucky. Yeah. If he had been going any faster from any further distance, I think it would have been a big thing. But I feel like, yeah. And thank goodness Super Greg was there to save the day.
Well, I'll do what I can. So, hey, now we got to get into some paranormal people.
Please.
All, the 3 people that are watching are going to be all disappointed.
Well, let's not disappoint the masses.
So how many shows have you done on Area 52?
We will be recording episode 97 next.
Okay.
Which is tonight. Yeah. So we'll be recording tonight.
Doing a paranormal, radio show.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any one particular thing or one particular person that you interviewed that you were just, wow, whatever the situation was? What is the one that stands out for you?
Well, man, you know what it is when I think what's fascinating about the paranormal, and I think this is something that most people who do it or have an interest in it for a long time end up finding out, is that it's not, everything's connected, right? Like that's what you get to. You get to a point where you kind of go, oh, remember this thing that we talked about. Remember this thing that we talked about. Remember this thing that we talked about. Or remember this guy mentioned this thing in 1996. And we talked about it in regards to this. And then out of nowhere, this thing comes up and you go, oh, wait, why does this? And then when paces start making sense, or because I think again, most people who experience or look into the paranormal, you never get answers. You only get more questions.
Questions, right? If you're doing it right, that's what you're getting.
Right. Nobody's ever gone out and went, well, we saw a ghost, we're done. Right? Like, even people who ask, like, what is paranormal investigating? It's going out, hoping something will happen, and then if it does, spending the rest of the night hoping it will happen again. That's all it is. I mean, you're just literally trying to find some level of reasoning as to why anything does it. Why is it that sometimes when you're on an investigation, and I started off as strictly looking into like ghosts, right? Like, it started for me because I kind of got to this part of my life where I was like, okay, well, to say there's nothing in the afterlife is crazy. And I wasn't super, and still am not, admittedly super religious. So for me, I was like, okay, so what is it? Right? Like, I know people who've had experiences. My wife has had experiences. There's experience. I love ghost shows. I'm watching people talk to ghosts. So obviously this is something that can be done, right? Like, Bigfoot seemed a little harder to find. It was hiking involved. The Loch Ness Monster, the first step in that was get a boat. So I was like, look, I'm just going to dial it back and go look for ghosts in a cemetery. So that's what I did. I bought the equipment that I saw in Ghost Adventures. I went online and I went to Ghost Stop or whatever it is. And I bought an SB7 spirit box, and I went to a cemetery, Salt Lake City Cemetery, and just started walking around. And there's a story about the cemetery, this grave of this old guy. Then the story itself is BS. There's no truth to it, but there is a grave that people congregate to, and they believe that this is the grave. And somehow, just by following noises and something, we found this grave, walked straight to it in the middle of the dark, and I sat across from this grave, and I had a yes and no conversation with something. Not to say that had anything to do with the urban legend of this grave, but it was real. And I went, okay, I can't dispute that I would ask a question, something said yes, and then something said no, and I would get these responses. And then being a comedian, I went on the road a lot, and everywhere I went had a story. Every college had a haunted dorm or a library. Every bar was haunted. Every theater had a ghost. So I bought more stuff and just took it with me. And that led to me making a web series called Ghost Hopping, which I started making in like 2012 and 13. So this is a while ago, 7 years ago. And wow, when you think about it. So my ideas back then were, I want to make a show, right? Like I want to make a full length, hour length show, because in there wasn't kind of, YouTube again hadn't become something where there was, just people going out ghost hunting and they're live streaming it and all of this. And so I really went all out and tried to produce and create a show. And we made 4 episodes, a 5th one that we never released because we never finished it. And we had people that were interested in it. And as you know, and yes, Lynn, there is the grave, the victim of the beast grave, which is on one side, but there's also this other grave, and I'm trying to remember what his name was and what the grave is. I don't want to, I'm just spacing.
That's a pretty cool cemetery up there.
It is,
both
it's
times
beautiful.
when Lynn and I came up to Salt Lake City, we went to the Tabernacle, and we went to the museum and all that, and went up there to the cemetery. And I was thoroughly impressed with Salt Lake City. I really like it.
I'm glad. It's a cool town, and I think it gets one of those raps, but it's a cool place, and there's a lot of history. And so there was a lot of places around town to investigate. And so like my first, I would do a night at Wise Guys, and then I would find, like, our first one was in Ogden, which is a city north of Salt Lake. And there's a street there, 25th Street, it's always had rumors, basements and tunnels and kind of, brothels, Old West stuff, that when you go to places like that, it's a lot of energy. And Wise Guys had been rumored to be haunted. So we just walked up and down the street, found other places that were. And we just started having experiences and making this show. And it was a lot of fun to make. But during it, I had some really fascinating experiences. Like I remember the first existential experience I ever had, which really sticks out to me. And I think this is one that I've talked about on our podcast, and it was the one that got me. Was we were sitting in a sushi restaurant, and this is in our first episode. If you go to youtube.com/ghost hopping, you can find the old episodes and then some stuff that we've done with local news. But I really haven't updated in a long time because we haven't had new content. So, but we were sitting at this table, and I'm using my spirit box, and and this voice just comes through and goes, "How's the ghost hunt?" Like that plain, that clear.
Wow.
How's the ghost hunt? And that to me was that thing where I went, okay. So something sees me doing this, and it knows what this is and identifies it as a ghost hunt. So does it know it's a ghost? And if so, is it messing with me going, how's the ghost hunt? We're over here. Or does it not know what it is? And if it doesn't know, then what does it think I am? And if it does know, then what does it think I am? Where is it asking me this from? I'm not talking to heaven. It's here, but it knows that I'm hunting. So, and I just started asking these questions, like, this thing knew what I was doing, but from where? And then what does it mean about me? What is it asking me, really? Is it asking me how's it going? Because it's saying I'm right over here. I'm part of the ghost hunt. Or is it saying, no, I don't know. I know what you're doing. What am I? Right? Like it baffled me, and it broke it still to this day is one of those questions that I'm like, I don't understand.
Right. Joy is saying maybe ghosts are people hunting.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what's going on.
Who knows? I mean, maybe they're watching, and we know that. We know they're everywhere. I know that. I never like to use the word haunted because I think active is more of a term that we should use, because I think activity is everywhere, and a place can be active and then not active. Because you've probably been to some of the most haunted places in the world and had the most peaceful night of your life.
I have. It's been great.
Yeah. I've been at home in some of the scariest basements, and then I've gone to places that are the nicest. You just go to some place that's nice and it's terrifying, right? Like, it's energy. So that's, I think, the difference. And we can't, I judge a book by its cover just because, but we can say too that, that's more likely that an asylum full of broken energy is probably going to be more active than
right.
A Walmart, but who knows?
Well, with what you said as far as me being a cop or whatever, apparently Greta thinks I need to have a cape next
Yeah.
time
I think if anybody could pull off a cape, I think if people saw you wearing a cape, no one would go, well, it's a new look for you. You doing a cape now?
you
I
think
think
that'd be
people would just
okay?
go, oh yeah. Have you seen Greg's cape?
I would like
Greg's
to
got a
wear a
great
cape.
cape. Oh, it was a great cape. He got good, as I like to say, good cape shoulders.
Ah, yeah,
Because a
cape
cape's got
shoulders.
a drape. You
That's
can't have
true.
a cape if you don't got that drape. That's the thing. I think that was the old dude. Don't have a drape. Right? The old scatterbat, number.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know either. But yeah.
But anyway,
But that's what it was for me, was that I got into ghost hopping, and then that kind of created I really focused on that, pitched that for a while to a couple different networks. As you know, every time you do that, that's 6 months of your life that where you're not making new stuff because you're hoping that somebody's going to pay you to make stuff.
Yep.
So after a while, you just don't make anything. And then you kind of realize, well, I'm not going to go and put out another full episode of something on my, it was a lot of time on your own. You know how it is. And
it's crazy, especially like now, the way that, Travel Channel and,
Right.
A&E tried to get in to paranormal stuff. Travel Channel's pretty much got it wrapped up. But I mean, I think it's, they've pushed the limit on a lot of that.
Yeah. Yeah. And it is. I mean, I have, I've still got a lot of ideas that we pitched and different things. I think there's a lot of different ways to present the paranormal, and my ideas were always kind of, as ghost hopping was. Ghost hopping was the idea that a comic who traveled around the country was always finding a place that was haunted wherever he did a show, and then approached it from the mentality, because it wasn't me, like, I'm not super serious. If I get scared, I get scared. If I'm cautious, I'm cautious, but I try to be me. So naturally, being an entertaining or funny or whatever you want to call it person, that's just the energy that I brought to what I did. And so my ideas were always kind of looking at the paranormal through something different. I think most people are scared of ghosts, or at least they say they are. And it's ridiculous to me. I know that people need to be careful, but again, in my stupid, humble opinion of just what this means, is that whatever you want to believe comes after this is fine, but that doesn't define what stays here. It doesn't explain why there's 4-year-old kids that are running around asylums. Like, they didn't get kicked out of heaven. They're not dropping down for a visit. So it has to be something, right? Why is it that sometimes it's an orb, and sometimes it's a person, and sometimes it's a noise, and sometimes it can move something, and sometimes it can grab you, and sometimes it can scratch you? Why is there 1,000 different ways it can manifest? It's probably because there's different interactions with our energy and its energy, or its energy and other things' energy. So if we know energy can't be destroyed, and we look at it from that standpoint, then we have to understand that I am more. I say this as myself, whether it's a soul or my chi or my whatever, I am more than this mortal shell. And when I'm gone, I would assume that what is here, as most people have seen with ghosts or remnants, or the other night, my wife lost her grandfather, and the night before he died, she just smelled basil. And he was this old, wonderful Italian man who had a garden, and she instantly smelled basil, and it took her back to his garden, and she just felt it and wept, and he wasn't gone. And that had nothing to do with a ghost or a heaven or a thing. It was his energy, a memory, a smell, a thing. It was a manifestation, right?
Right. My mother passed away in October, and she had dementia, and she had a bunch of stuff going on. And I mean, she could have a conversation with you and I right now, and you wouldn't know she had dementia. But if you came to her 5-10 minutes later and asked about the conversation, she'd be kind of confused about it.
Yeah.
But she got on this kick of eating Kit Kats, and every time I would come see her, she would tell me how great Kit Kats were, and just go over and over to the point of where every time I knew I would show up, and she would do three things. And one of them was talk for 15 minutes about Kit Kats. Right. I've been all over the world, Marcus. I'm a world traveler. I have done a lot of stuff in the last 50 years, and I've never, ever been around where people are talking about Kit Kats. And let me tell you something. since my mom passed away, it's happened to me twice, and it happened to my sister the day or two after she
Mhm.
passed away. These two old women were behind her in line, and this woman was talking about Kit Kats. It's just bizarre, man.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, I don't know. Makes you want
But I
to
think
wonder.
that's true. I think that energy manifests in a strange way, right? And so to me, like, it's funny, and I don't mean to get deep, but I think a lot of people associate the afterlife with a sense of, religion. It's either heaven or it's hell, or it's good or it's evil. It's an angel, it's a demon. I like to think of it as the idea that energy surrounds us, right? I always think of it as like I am my own sun, right? Meaning that I'm the center. The sun, we all go around the sun, unless you're a flat earther and you believe that the sky is a dome. But for the most part, in this metaphorical sense, for all of you, the sun is here and we circle it. So if we are that, and this universe goes out in all directions from any center point, imagine yourself being the sun, and imagine the things in your life revolving around you. And when you're done, it sends out ripples in your universe, and it lingers just like it lingers in our universe. Now, the universe goes on without it, and it's really just a hiccup in the time and space bubble, but it means something.
Right.
In that same sense, we mean something. When I die, I will send out ripples. I can give off heat, life, laughter, joy. And so to me, that means that I myself like to live with a pure energy. I try to put off something that if that moment I was snuffed out, that memory, that existence, that ripple of me would be that positive vibe. And I think that, if you think of it like that, and you think of like 98% of people you meet are super cool. Just because if I died tomorrow, I wouldn't be like, I'm a ghost. I wouldn't turn into the grudge.
I'm hoping you will.
I would assume
Not die tomorrow, but when you're a ghost.
Right. I would assume that I get to be, or whatever I am exists. I don't immediately become scary. And that was kind of my take, was that a comic, right, is the same thing. We stand on a stage in front of a room full of people that we can't see. We're blinded by lights. We're standing in the dark. And all I have to do for an hour and a half, 2 hours, no matter how big the room is, we've done shows for 20 people up to 8,500. And when you get to that, all you have is the feeling. And we all know that exists. You've been to a concert or a baseball game where everybody feels something, right?
Right.
So when you're there and you're a maestro of that energy, you're feeling it. They're laughing. The laugh comes in waves. It's movement, right? Once you kind of lock into that as a performer, then when you go to these locations, you're able, I really feel like, to be able to sense and react to that energy in a way that isn't I think what most people view paranormal investigation to be like reactionary, which is the idea of a comic. If somebody goes, hey man, just turning, going, you shut your mouth, right? That's not how you do it. You go, hey man, you read the room and you feel the vibe and you work it out. So that's the idea, is not every ghost is terrifying. They might grab you because they're scared. They might be pushing something because they want your attention. Why are we running? So what we're trying to do is communicate. That's the term.
I find it pretty funny when these ghost shows, the investigator or whatever runs out of the room and yells for everybody else to. I mean, it's like, what are you doing? That's why you're there. You want the guy to friggin' come up and Yeah.
Look, if the internet explodes because Ghost Hunter attacked and killed by Ghost on camera, you won, bud.
Dude, that's great.
You win the ghost footage. I don't want you to get hurt, but for the most part, there's not that, right? There's if people, and again, I think it's the same way we approach things. If I approach the stage as a performer going, listen, you will accept my energy because I will bring the show to your face. No, I think that's a selfish way for a performer to look at a room. But if I look at a room and go, okay, who are these people? How do they need me to perform? Oh, okay, they're a little laid back. Let's pull them in. Ooh, these guys are ready. Let's hit them with their energy, right? Who are these people? Let's figure it out. It's a pool. I'm floating with them. I'm not trying to lift water or push water. I'm floating on it until I can move the waves. And that's the same way I approach paranormal investigation, is listening to that energy.
Area 51. Let's get back to that. I mean, Area 52, your podcast. What was the number one guest that you had on that was just amazing?
We've never had, to be honest, we don't do a lot of guests. Most
Okay.
of what we
Well,
do, you were our big. To be honest, we talked to you, and we did an episode with Jeremy Corbell,
I saw that, or I heard that.
which was really cool when he did. I think it was Area 51. He hadn't released Skinwalker yet. He told us about it before it came out. But for the most part, we really we'll try to like find a topic or something. And then for the longest time, it was just, we just kept, like I said, the topics kept intersecting. And that was really
Right.
what it was that after we stopped doing ghost hopping, after I stopped being an active, let's go out trying to find places to go all the time. It was like the next thing with like, okay, let's start something where we can talk about things, and examine, not like, great, Bigfoot exists, like in the footprints that were found in the Patterson. No, look, let's go past that and go, okay, well, what are people really saying, and how does this tie? And then, like I said, after you do 96 episodes and you realize you've said something 50 times over and over again in relation to 100 different things, and you start going, this is why is this the same? When we talk about deep underground military bases, why do they match up with missing people? And why do those match up with Sasquatch sightings? And why do those match up with this? And why do...
Oh, I think I just lost him. Hold on.
Oh, I'm right here.
There we go. All right.
And that's why, you start going through all of these weird kind of realizations and going, okay, well, instead of just saying, this is a cryptid, and this is a ghost, and this is a UFO, and this is an alien, then you kind of start breaking into it and going, okay, well, if this is an alien, then what is this? And is this the same as this? And is this person's story tie into this? And does this, if this means this, then it's got to be this, right? And so it's more the problem solving side of it, being able to kind of look at the paranormal, look at the unexplained, and say, okay, if we sat down and just talked about this one murder for 3 hours with all of but that rationale doesn't make sense, and that doesn't make sense. And then you kind of go, well, we're either being lied to, or there's something more to this. And
right.
then,
And you're talking about like interaction and all these different levels of whether it's a ghost, whether it's an orb, whatever it is. Kat says, you feel telepathic interaction could explain some apparition or, some sort of
absolutely
experience of what you're actually seeing. So
sure, that gets into the idea of, the God helmet, and the idea that our senses can maybe pressure picks up either makes us think of presences, or that's the whole argument, right? Is that our brain is either telling us that we're paralyzed at night, that the sleep paralysis is a thing, and while we're paralyzed, our brain is in a half sleep that is seeing figures in our room, beings that are glimmering, right? Or our brain is now being able to, because of its state that it's in, access what is going on around us, and then we are seeing these beings as being there, right? So again, the science doesn't exist, but it's fun to talk about. And then when you get enough people saying these things, or when you listen and you pay attention to the paranormal world, and I kind of tell people, look, if you're a ghost hunter, if that's your thing, look into everything, right? Look into all of it. If it's something, then it matters. Could it be even more than telepathic? Could it be interdimensional? Could it be, that there's presences that we are sensing, these noises or these things that are coming through from other dimensions? And what does that mean? Is that multiple universes? Is that wormholes? Is that physical beings? Is that an alien presence that we aren't able to understand because it's so advanced? Or maybe it's just a mist now versus a thing. Is it an actual person? Was it a person, right? Why is it in that room, in that house? All the questions that come out of it. I mean, you just...
Right.
why is that? Why would a ghost? It could go anywhere, right? Why is it really trapped in a place? Can it not leave that house? Is that it's forever? Can it, if you leave all the door, can it not leave? Does it choose to be there? Is it, is it there? Is it lingering? Is it interactive? Is it just a memory? You start getting into all those questions, and that's really, I think, what got us into the podcast, was being able to sit down and have these conversations, and then be able to revisit them with new information. And, it's even stuff that's going on now, stuff that we talked about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, with, talking about viruses and talking about war and talking about these things. And then you
Yeah.
go, oh, look, this thing that happened in 2010 and this thing that was said in 2015. And everybody goes, oh, these things are fake, or you're wrong. Well, they're wrong until they match up, until they go, yeah, it didn't make sense 5 years ago. Now it does. So, that's
speaking of viruses and
Yeah.
stuff, in the paranormal world, obviously, and in anything having to do with TV or movies or anything, it ain't happening. Everything is stopped. So all of these conventions and everything are either canceled, or they're dead, or they're postponed, or whatever. I know you, as far as in your business, it has to be freaking scary, man. Because I mean, you're doing this stuff. You guys just did a big special, right? There in Salt Lake.
Yeah, we filmed a comedy special last year. We kind of wanted to. I think that in anybody's creative, like you with books or things, right? You get ideas and then you kind of go, well, let me take that to the nth degree and then move past that. And that's kind of what we wanted to do, was take a bunch of the stuff that we'd done forever. We brought in a full band rather than just us two, and kind of tried to put together a production, like a real production. And we did. I thought it was really fun. And for something that we made on our own, I mean, I directed it and produced it, and we had our, camera guys who were amazing that came in and, let us help with the edit. And I'm really happy with how it turned out, because I always like the creative process, right? So that was fun. But yeah, then, I mean, when this happened, it was crazy. Danny did a wrestling show. So AEW is a touring wrestling company, and she did their very last show, which was here in Salt Lake. And she was on there. She played a paramedic and was in a scene. And while we're sitting there in the audience,
wait, played? You mean that's not?
Well, I'm sorry, she used her paramedic skills. What have I done? No,
you've exposed. Wait, I need to find out what we need to look behind the curtain. We can do that later, though.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
But while we were sitting there, that was the night that our jazz players tested positive for coronavirus. In where was it? Oklahoma. And so as we're sitting there in the audience, my buddy turns to me and goes, "Hey, Rudy Gobert just tested positive for coronavirus." And we're like, "Really?" And so you saw that. And then within 10 minutes, the NBA was canceled. And you start kind of circulating around this building. And we were like, what is happening? What's going on here? And then the next day, everything canceled. And the wrestling organization that she had just worked for and was really excited to see what would come of that, they stopped doing live shows. Within a week, everything that we had lined up from March, April, May had all canceled 100%. I mean, it was like we lost a lot of gigs. And
I know a lot of people that are in
did.
that same, in the entertainment industry, all the musicians, all the restaurants.
I mean, servers, bartenders. I mean, hairstylists, tattoo artists. And there's a lot of, I mean, gosh, and those are just people like, off the top of my head that I personally know. I mean, there's tons of business. And the comedy club here, he had to close down, he couldn't book any comics, and still can't be open. We did a virtual show from there the other day, which was really fun, but all of the wait staff and everybody's gone. And it's, I personally think that we're going to get back to this, and it's going to be something that's hopefully going to be a positive. Hopefully we'll learn and grow as you do from any experience, I would hope. But yeah, I just hope, I just tell everybody out there, be creative. Look, if you're in your house and, find a way to keep being creative, find a way to keep doing what you're doing. I mean, find something you're interested in, learn more about it, learn a new skill, learn a new hobby. I don't know what it is. Just do something.
I mean, especially, on you can go on YouTube and learn just about anything.
Yeah. Anything.
Right?
YouTube University, as they call it. Absolutely. You can get on there. There's no excuse for not knowing something.
No,
right?
Imagine if Abraham Lincoln, was growing up now, what would he be doing? Because I mean, he's pretty much self-taught, or he was pretty much self-taught.
And how many people are like that? Get on the line and just learn how to play the guitar from YouTube tutorials, right? It's not unheard of. So getting out there and doing that. And I also, and I said this the other day when I did a live stream, but I just hope people stay sharp. Because when this is over, people are going to need entertainment, and they're not going to wait for a whole industry full of people to get over their stage rust.
Right.
We as comics need to be ready. If somebody called me and said, can you get on stage tomorrow and do your show 100%? I would say yes. And then I would say, okay, well, can I? I can. I know I can, but do we remember all our bits? Do we remember how this goes? Are we gonna? We need to stay sharp. And so I think that's one of those things, is being able to do things like this, talk with other creatives, and just have these conversations, keep our minds kind of in a space where we're thinking and doing and communicating, which is our job as people, to think, communicate, and then take that back and present it in a way that unites and makes people have a reaction, a good reaction, an emotional reaction on command, which is awesome.
So Greta is asking where you live.
Salt Lake City.
Yeah. So Greta, you actually missed Marcus when we were all up there. After the show the next day, Marcus and I and Danny and Lynn, we all went up to Park City, but you met Andrea Perrin, right?
Yes.
Mark?
Yeah. At Great America.
The Conjuring and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which was cool. Yeah. We met her at the little shop there when we were in the lobby at the Grand America.
So Greta knows a lot as far as in the entertainment industry. So since she asked that, she will probably be talking with you. I'm guessing.
Yeah, that's great. I think that that's what's so neat about this world, is that we're so connected that we have no excuse not to be. We have no excuse to not be able to have these conversations. And I mean, you're in Austin, I'm here. But it's interesting because when we talked about this on our podcast the other day, was that we're kind of in a position where everybody's experiencing the same thing. We're all locked down. We're all here. We're all, no matter what our houses are, our situations are, we're all doing essentially the same thing. So we should all be able to have these opportunities to talk, which is awesome. So I want to thank you for, before boy, only 52 minutes has gone by.
I know, man. It went by. I thought it went by fast. Apparently,
I don't even understand where that went. We've been on here like 7 minutes, Greg.
I think the 3 people that were watching, I don't know. Hey, tell everybody, all the millions of people that are watching this right now, tell them where they can find you and what's important about you. And
well, if people want to know more, they certainly can. marcus&guy.com has most of the links to everything entertainment based for me. Marcus and Guy, again, is the comedy duo that I'm part of. We focus mainly on clean corporate comedy. I'm also going to, as soon as this is over, we were going to be launching April 1st, but everything kind of changed when this happened. But I'm opening a clean corporate comedy agency that will be representing acts from literally anywhere. I started off wanting to be local, but then I started having comics contact me from across the country, and there's businesses from all over, so why not? But it's going to be representing comics, bands, performers, magicians, people who want to perform and focus on performing clean in the corporate world. And I'm going to give the corporate world a centralized location to find great talent. So we're working on building that, and that's called 3C, the 3C Talent Agency. And we'll be launching that. The paranormal side of me, if you search ghost hopping on YouTube, that was the show that I made. And that channel has 4 full episodes of the show, which includes our 4th episode, which was really cool, which was at Gettysburg. And we captured some really neat stuff in Gettysburg. We also have a few little clips on there, an amazing EVP that's like this 48-second EVP of this same woman's voice that we got just talking, an orb that runs into an invisible wall in midair and makes noise like it's bouncing off something, which is fascinating to me from just even an energy standpoint. But we've got a lot of little clips on there and things. And then if you want to listen to the podcast, search Area 52 on Apple, iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, Spotify. I think we're everywhere. So just search Area 52 podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. And like I said, we have 96 episodes, and we've covered everything from ghosts and cryptids and supernatural monsters to unsolved murders and conspiracy theories, and we talk about current events, and we go pretty deep. So we really try to get into some of the extreme corners of these conspiracy theories and lay it all out and kind of give it to you to, I don't know, digest and go look into more for yourself, which is, I think, what most great paranormal explorers do. We go out and we create.
Yeah. I'm hoping to see you at some of the conventions, and
I'd love to, man.
it would be awesome to have you do a show in the, in the evening. Everybody, you get through with the convention, everybody goes to eat, and then you come in because you have a really good perspective and really good grasp on the paranormal side of it.
It'd be fun. Yeah, I would. Well, I'd love to do stuff like that. And if paranormal conventions, if you're out there and you listen to this, but I say we because Guy typically comes with me, especially if we perform, but I love hosting things like this and conventions and panels and things like that. I love doing stuff like that. So in addition to the comedic side of me, like that stuff fascinates me. So if there's anybody out there that's interested, man, you're looking for somebody like that, that's what I do. But I would love to come to some of these conventions and experience some of these things. When I was with you, I mean, it was you, and we got to meet Travis and oh gosh, Dave Schrader was there, and it was just a really neat thing. So it's interesting to get in a room full of minds like this and kind of go further than the standard talking head Q&A television show goes.
Josh Gates was at that one, right?
Yeah, Josh was there too. That's right. Yeah, Josh Gates.
I was Josh's limo driver.
Were you really?
Yeah. So hey, man, we're running up onto an hour, and Lynn always tells me less is more, and never give them too much Greg. So I think they've had enough of Greg today.
You know what? That's not. I will say, not to disagree with her, but I didn't know there was such a thing as too much Greg.
I don't think so, but
I won't tell her.
Anyway, man, I really appreciate you doing this with me tonight, and I know our 3 viewers were riveted.
Well, I hope they were. This was riveting stuff.
This is going to be saved. It's going to be on Facebook, and it'll be saved on YouTube. And anyway, man, if you have any last words, I think we're going to wrap this up.
Be open-minded and never take anybody's. Go do the research for yourself.
Yeah.
If you don't believe it, don't just say no. Go out and try. That's what I did. And it led to a lot more questions. I think that's what we need, is people who ask questions.
I think we do too. Ask good questions.
Yeah.
So this was the first episode of the Detective Diaries.
Yeah.
And I hope somebody, the 3 that tuned in, will tune in next week.
Yes.
I will have a guest probably from overseas, I'm guessing.
Ooh,
I'm not
sure.
sure.
Oh.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, for sure, man. Thanks for having me, Greg.
Have a good one.
Okay, buddy. Talk to you later.